We'll call our community development meeting to order for March the 10th. I'd like to welcome everyone. I think Carrie, you're the only one we have on. No, I guess Lorraine's on there and Cheryl both. So we have three online. Welcome to everyone online and at the table here. Attendance from taken?
Yes.
Okay. Approval of agenda. Can I have a motion to approve today's agenda, please?
I'll move to approve Greg Erickson.
Moved by Greg Erickson, seconded by
Lorraine
Cheryl.
Goss.
Sorry, Lorraine.
That's okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, if any? Motion carried. Any conflict of interest today on today's agenda? Hearing none, we're good. So we'll ask the presentation of the 2026 grants from ESIC and the resilience. We have Carrie online and Lisa that's here at the table, and we'll let them carry on with us.
Yes, so good morning, everyone. And I know that Carrie, if I get some information wrong, please fill in. It's been a while. We've been working on these grants since like last October, November, and we received 27 applications. And out of them, I mean, for the ones that we tried to fit under ESIC, because ESIC is very specific, much more specific in its requirements than the resiliency grants. So we have $50,000 from ESIC for community action grants, basically going from January to December. They have to be in food security, transportation, connection to benefits, financial literacy, stigma reduction and sensitization, or supporting nonprofits. So out of all the applications, we were able to apply for a district, the ones that fell under ESIC and were approved or District Francophone Sud. So 3 French schools got together and applied for the same thing as ASDUS had applied for the year before. It was to support their food program. So breakfast program, lunch program. Some schools now have to run these lunch programs and these breakfast programs. I think it's just breakfast right now. But they don't have cafeterias. So they needed refrigeration equipment, they needed toasters, they needed utensils or whatever. So they applied for 3 schools. We asked them to get together and they were approved for $18,000. The other 3 grants that were approved were, I applied on behalf of the commission because I didn't know at first that we could do this. And they said, well, yes, if you're doing project as the commission related to the SINABLES, the food security, transportation, connection to benefits, you can also apply. So then what that will do is money that is left over. In other words, if I get an $8,000 grant, that will free up money from my budget, the community development budget, to perhaps approve more grants. So I applied for $8,000 to run the financial literacy workshops. I applied for $8,000 to do the poverty reduction, stigma reduction, sensitization training workshops, and I applied for $6,000 for speed network in rural communities, and I was approved for all of those, totaling $22,000. So that'll remove some of the strain, I guess, on my community development budget with the commission, which will likely allow me to perhaps offer more grants to some of these 27 applicants that didn't get approved because they didn't fall under E6 requirements or under resiliency, or we just ran out of money. So my ESIC grants right now total $40,000. So I still have $10,000 left. The neat thing about ESIC is there are 2 application spots. We can apply again in April. And there is one from NB Community Gardens that will likely go through in April. It's just that we couldn't get a hold of the organizer on time and the applicant, and there were a few things that were missing in his application. So some of that $10,000 will be used up. However, there'll be a little bit more. So we're going to have a second look at the grants that did not receive funding, Carrie and I, and we'll adjust accordingly. I guess I'll let you present the resiliency grants, Katie, if you're able. Carrie, I said Katie. Carrie, sorry.
Yeah, that's
Do that all
okay.
the time.
Get
Sorry.
me confused.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Carrie.
So this year it's built off of
We
Long
can't hear
here.
you.
Oh, can you hear me okay? Okay, perfect.
You're
It's built
still
off
muted.
of,
I can hear.
you can hear me, Lorraine?
I
Okay.
can hear you.
It actually says you, oh,
I'm not sure.
ask to unmute, interesting.
Does she have her mute on herself?
Lorraine can hear me fine. So I feel like
I can hear you fine. Can the rest of the board hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? It looks like nobody's able to.
No, I don't think we hear. Lorraine, could you say something, please?
Yes, I certainly can say something.
Can't hear Lorraine.
Can you hear
Tim?
me? Yeah.
Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you, Tim.
Yeah,
I
go
heard
here.
Tim.
Someone heard Tim? Okay.
I heard.
Can you hear me? Let's see.
Yes.
We hear everyone now.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Excellent. Okay, so resiliency grants this year. As Lise mentioned, we both went through the process, met with partners through the network table to help them navigate which type of funding works best. A lot of you'll see, I won't go in great detail, but some of them were continued plans and some was an opportunity to engage some partners. So what we're hoping to do with the network is one, have those project leads present to the network table and help them connect and find other connections in the region. I'll highlight Big Brothers and Big Sisters. They presented at our February meeting. And one of the programs we supported was volunteer engagement to have youth mentorship. So we know that we have a number of little brothers and little sisters that are on the wait list to be matched with some mentors. And so how do we come up with a volunteer strategy to help connect and have that intergenerational support? So that's one of the projects. And the reason why that would be selected is that in long term, we know that when people are connected to other social connections, it's really part of that recovery phase. Of say like COVID-19, for example, our social connections become impacted, and some folks like youth have fallen through the cracks when you think about those bigger public systems. So that's one of the projects that we did oversee, and we looked at it strategically to see how might we build capacity amongst partners. Overall, we had, I believe it was just over 70,000. So we have 50,000 every year that we deploy. And we had around 20,000 remaining from previous work, just because there was change of partners and we allocated some of those funds. And again, Lise and I are working in tandem on that. If there's any questions over the resiliency projects, I'm happy to elaborate further, but I'll just give a snippet so far.
Okay, thanks, Carrie. So Lise, you're gonna do the ESIC
Yes.
projects update and the CRSC.
Absolutely. So, at the end of the year, I mean, we accomplished a lot, but there's a couple things that we're still missing, at the end of December. A few initiatives that we had hoped to have that we weren't able to finish, and we're gonna try to squeeze those in the next few months. If they still apply and if there's still a need for them by our directors. A networking event for faith-based community and nonprofits to discuss outreach partnerships. As you know, we invite faith-based groups to every meeting because of course, they're so involved as volunteers and in outreach in every community. But we were hoping to have just them at one meeting, and we're still hoping to do that. A second event was also planned for Grand Lake for CAOs wanting to learn more about the successful, it was going to happen in where were we going to have this? It was going to be in Oromocto, I believe, to talk about rural settlement. Because it's been such a success in Grand Lake, we were gonna bring Lynn Casey from that one of those organizations to come in and speak to our directors. And there's still plans to convene leading members of communities living with disabilities. We're going to work with GFSI on this for National Disabilities Week in the spring. those were smaller amounts, but for 2026, here are the projects that we are taking on. So of course, our monthly resiliency network meetings continue in each community. In March, we're meeting in New Maryland, and in April, we'll be in Sitansisk. More and more, we are moving into our First Nations communities, to try to build that relationship there, and so far it's going very well. They're great partners to work with, and we have a lot of similarities and things that in our needs and the things that they need for their communities. For example, the grant writing, financial literacy, and other such projects. I plan on traveling to each community. It'll be myself and Carrie when she's able, and also with Katie, just to meet with the CAOs to discuss both resiliency and the community development needs of each of their areas. I'll work with Brett and John though to find out, what sort of work we can look at and what discussions would best serve our standing committee. We're going to host at least four, and if we have more funds, more financial literacy workshops in various areas of our region. There was one planned yesterday in Oromocto First Nation, and it went very, very well. And as a matter of fact, halfway through the meeting, they asked me to come into the kitchen, and their person responsible for social development said, "You know what, we're onto something really good here. What other things do you offer? What other things that can we tap into?" And so I told them about Place aux Compétences, which is some funding for some youth programs, because they're looking for some help with their powwow. And I said, well, why don't you engage the kids from high school? They can apply for this volunteer money up to $5,000. So they've got the link and they're applying. And
Oh, that's
also grant writing courses and others. So I now have some good contacts in that community. Sometimes you don't necessarily have to be in contact with the chief or the council, although there was a counselor at our training yesterday. So, but we've got two good contacts through the social development reps there and the education reps. So that's good. Then that's financial literacy. We'll be hosting 4 stigma reduction workshops in various areas of our region. We had I don't know if we should talk about our meeting with Deb. Nob, is it?
Nobes, Deborah
Nobes.
Nobes.
Deborah Nobes, who with the city, who in her work has to develop a plan for homelessness in the city of Fredericton. I know, John, you might be able to help me with this, but we said, well, it's interesting because some of the work that you're planning on doing, we're also planning on doing. Why don't we work together and tackle this in steps? So when I go through my stigma reduction clinics, when I bring in my partners from mental health and addictions, John Howard Society and other partners, when we have those clinics, perhaps you can have your folks there and taking notes, and it'll help sort of feed the information that you need to have for your project and your report. I'm not sure if you can help explain that more.
Looking at a very early look at a project on a toolkit, and that toolkit will be to help inform businesses in terms of how to deal with and approach people that might be unhoused in the community and in the area. Also looking at that from a rural perspective, so it's a rural and urban perspective. Looking at what tools are in there. So where this came from is the Funding Regional Service Commission has developed one, and they've received lots of positive feedback on it. So we started talking about this, and then I guess the city in their proactiveness reached out to the city of St. John. They said, well, our region just helped with this. I'd already been in discussions with Phil Willett, my counterpart there. So I drew Lise and Katie into the conversation. We had a very good, positive first conversation. And it looks like we may be able to develop something together that will benefit the entire region overall. But based on everything from, trying to reduce the stigma, trying to get people to understand even the basics of how to approach somebody. They see somebody, on the street, they see somebody in a building, they see somebody in their area. How do I approach them? And I think Member Fox was having a little conversation about that just before we opened the meeting. So very relevant, very timely, and hopefully we can get a good partnership going there as well.
Yeah. So we're going to meet again this week to follow up on that discussion. Then, of course, we're going to host four speed networking events in rural areas. Still not sure about the actual, agenda yet, but we need to get into our more rural areas and meet with our CAOs there and our folks there, our nonprofits, and maybe form some partnerships with people within the city and within our rural areas. We need to work at that as well. And promotion of the Community Food Smart program, that is ongoing. Sandy McKinnon, of course, from GFSI is one of my major partners. And in any chance we get, we talk about Food Smart. When I'm in a community and I'm talking about urban rural rides, I'm talking about 211, talking about the commission, I'm talking about resiliency, and I'm also talking about Community Food Smart. Sandy would like to see us increase the number of clients being served by the Community Food Smart program. It's $15 a bag, a value of between $30 and $40 worth of food. It's fresh produce. It's a oiled machine. It's a well-run program. We just need to get more people transporting bags to people who need them. And again, that's where our faith-based communities can help us. So we continue to advertise that, promote that, and work on that. Of course, we're going to host at least one grant writing workshop. Right now, I'm working with Director Marty Forsyth to have one in his area. There's already a great interest there. We may have an evening course because the people that he's looking to invite, we're looking at a 3-hour course and possibly at nighttime, but we're working out the actual details for that one. Continue to work with the Capital Region Food Council, of course, that we are hosting, I guess, we are hosting along with GFSI, and I continue to stay informed on school food projects. Work continues with GFSI and Kim Nash McKinley on our Indigenous relationship building. It's as a result of our first meeting in Oromocto that we developed this financial literacy training. So it's going well. We continue to have some meetings. I'll be talking to Sandy soon to see when we're going to schedule the next one. Implementation of various studies for transportation, synergies study, and physician recruitment. Nothing, specific on that. It's just ongoing in all the discussions that we have, in all the considerations for courses or for discussions or for meetings. That is always there, and we'll continue to develop those. Continued work with and promotion of urban rural rides. As I've mentioned, I'll be attending a seniors day in Chipman in April to promote the commission and of course all these other things that I mentioned earlier. Continued collaboration with Ignite and CRIN, the Capital Region Integration Network, as well as Jobs Unlimited and United Way. I'm on the boards of several of these and on their committees. So continue to keep them in the loop, and they keep me in the loop as well as to what's going on in the Capital Region. Continued monthly meetings in collaboration with Gwen McIntyre from the City of Fredericton's Community Inclusion Office. Gwen and I have formed a really good working relationship. I tell her everything that's going on and all the projects we're trying to work on. And in some cases, sometimes we're partnering on some of these things. And she lets me know about the initiatives going on at the city. Not just Gwen, but also Hillary from the City of Fredericton. She comes to our resiliency meetings as well and lets us know if there are grants available, if there are projects that we could partner on. So we've got a good relationship there. Coordination and collaboration with Moving Forward Together clinics and super clinics, matching our most vulnerable people to services and funding. Those are the ones where we have folks from Service Canada, Service New Brunswick, Housing New Brunswick, Indigenous Affairs to help people to get their status cards. So these clinics are usually at Brunswick Baptist Church, and it's a drop-in center for some of our most vulnerable trying to obtain services and trying to get their taxes done. Continued promotion of 211, 988, Point Alert in our region. Every meeting we go to, we try to talk about these things. Continued relationship building and awareness building with our Francophone population and other cultures through MCAF and Ignite. We've got at least 6 or 7 people showing up at our resiliency meetings now from MCAF, and we're able to do some partnership there. Carrie and I in the next few months plan on meeting with at least 3 groups from in one meeting, but they're going to bring all the different Francophone groups from Saint-Anne so that they can know what the commission is working on and what partnerships can happen there. The fact that we gave them an $18,000 grant to the Francophone schools will surely get the ball rolling and the buzz going as well. Continued collaboration with CAG and other housing committees. Attend when we can. We'll be attending RSC meetings in Moncton on March 23rd and 24th with my counterparts. We'll be attending a regional transportation gathering in April in Moncton as well, and I believe that Brett was also talking about attending this. So either one or both of us will go. There's also the possibility of attending online. This is where Trevor Hansen and his team at the Community Transportation Research Lab at the University of New Brunswick will be presenting to all the regions. So those are the things, I guess, that are part of my status report and the things I'm working on this month.
Thanks so much, Lise. Are there any questions for Lise? Yes, Tim.
Yeah, I guess I want to come back to the toolkit, the homelessness
Yes.
toolkit. And I would just recommend, and I know you probably are doing this anyway, but that the folks who are involved in homelessness in the community really should be a part of the development of that. So Fredericton Shelters, John Howard,
Yes.
12 Neighbors, KEG, like just to ensure some of those organizations already have probably a big chunk of those pieces that you're looking for.
Yes,
So it would just-
mental health and addictions as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, and these were all going to be partners. Thank you for that. But they were all going to be partners at the table for the stigma reduction clinics. So by extension, our work with the city as well, for sure. And of course, John Howard Society, always top on my list for sure. So yes, absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
And Mr. Chair, just on that earlier, when I was reflecting on the comments, we're also trying to put information in there to empower people to help and assist others. So that when they approach, when they engage, when they're able to have those conversations and they feel empowered to do so, or even if they don't feel empowered to do so, what to do, what's appropriate, how do you do it? And even talking about better language use. When we talk about reducing the stigma, there's words that have been used in the past that are not quite as acceptable today and shouldn't be acceptable, but at the same time, it's quite a comprehensive toolkit. I didn't want to go too far down the road just because we've just started into the conversation about developing and working, but there is a real positive opportunity here to undertake that.
I think even homeless was not a good word. I think unhoused. Yeah. So I could do better already. Yeah.
Great, you have a question?
Yeah, on this topic as well, I'm really curious to see what the toolkit would look like, and I'm wondering at the outset, even if that's a good word for it. These toolkits tend to be things that you customize for your own use.
Mhm.
And I don't know if we're producing a toolkit that's customized for each individual use, or if it's more of a guide to engaging with the community. So something to think about moving forward.
Would we be able to share the funding
Oh, yeah.
one with this
It's
committee?
online.
Okay, I'll send it over.
Yeah, please do. I'd love
Yeah.
to take a look at it.
No,
Because I think this is the kind of thing we need to do, and we need to get it right from a number of perspectives that are important to that
Yes.
being successful. We certainly hear the city of Fredericton from lots of homeowners
Mhm.
in our downtown that have lots of concerns. And they don't necessarily have a group that's reached out to them either. And we want our whole community aware of the issues, the problems, and how they can engage, appropriately with these issues. I do have another question, Mr. Chair, on a separate topic. It's regarding the financial literacy workshops. I'm curious where the curriculum comes from for those things, because I know the financial and consumers.
Have you ever heard of each one?
I have not. But the
Okay.
taxpayers are paying right now for the Financial and Consumer Services Group in New Brunswick to be an expert in this exact field. And I've had them come to the city to provide, meetings. They've also been engaged by the Union of New Brunswick Municipalities and, a few other groups do high level financial policy stuff, but they also do literacy from the ground up and so on and so forth. I don't know if they're still doing it, but
That is a good idea, and I've
I
been
want to
getting
use
emails from them.
every taxpayer dollar as efficiently as possible.
That is a good
They've
point.
already covered some of this ground. Let's go steal their homework and
Absolutely, no, I
put it to
agree
this
with you.
new Second Life.
The reason through you, Mr. Chair, the reason I had gone with the each one teach one is because Chad McDonald, who's with Brunswick Credit Union, had done the one in St. Mary's, Sedansis, and had done a really, really good job. And I thought, okay, he's got the Indigenous lens and the point of view and might have received a few bits of information. For example, some of the things I learned that a lot of, if you present your status card, they will waive your monthly bank charges and even sometimes your interest charges if you present your, and that's not every credit union or every bank, but there are things like this that we learned, you know, through that workshop yesterday. And that's why, and he was brought in by Each One Teach One. I'm not sure, I think that's a federal program. And I think St. Mary's had tapped into that. I'm not, anyway, I don't know, I'm not familiar, that's what I'm looking at you, I'm not, is anybody familiar with each one?
No.
But it was the same program, and so it didn't cost me a penny yesterday to have them come. And they agreed to come to future ones as well. I could even do something in collaboration with FCNB because they're excellent in the fraud detection, their fraud detection programs. And this gentleman from Each One Teach One. Anyway, good, that's a good idea. Although we felt the clinic was a little too long yesterday, went from 10 to 4. It was a lot of information and there were a lot of smoke breaks and we lost a lot of them. Because I think we made it a little too long, maybe a half day next time. We're learning as we go. But thank you, I will definitely, maybe a partnership with FCNB at the same time.
Yes, sir.
No, I'm good.
Thank you. How extensive is the need for financial literacy amongst the public?
According to ESIC, quite extensive. A lot of people, and one of the main reasons for ESIC to want us to do this and also the tax clinics is by getting your taxes done, you are automatically applying for all kinds of other services. And if you're not able to do your taxes for whatever reason, that's why the churches will do it because that opens up the door to all these other. And the other thing too, I noticed that the level, I thought at first I was concerned yesterday when they were starting, because I thought, this is pretty easy stuff. And then I realized around the table, it was not easy stuff. Not for everybody. It depends who the audience is. So he starts very basic, very basic. Even talked about checks. He said, who here still has a checkbook? And I put my hand up and he said, now they're doing away with checkbooks, but here's how you write a check. And they kind of made fun of me. But anyway, you know, we talked about all the very basics, but then in the afternoon, it was fraud prevention, a little bit of that, and a little more advanced things, e-transfers and pre-authorized payments and things like this.
Yeah.
But apparently, the financial literacy rate is very much needs this in our province.
So, you know.
It's very
is
much,
A lot of, or some financial education used to be provided in the school system, and I don't know if any is done now at all. But you get everybody, if it was through the school system to a certain level. And I know when I was teaching, I used to kind of cheat the curriculum and do some anyway. But it seems like this is a difficult way to solve, to address a problem. But I don't doubt that it's needed, because even with income tax, you
exactly.
know, when I don't do my own anymore, because I have to learn it every year,
The new tax laws, yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
And I just don't have the patience to go through it all.
And they used to teach it in home economics.
Yeah,
I don't know if they have home economics anymore, but they talked about a little bit about your meal budget or whatever. I'm not sure that there are courses, many courses now that.
we seem to look to the education system to solve a lot of problems. And it probably will run into a lot of headwinds if we even ask the questions.
Mm,
But
You're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution, one or the other.
yeah. Yeah.
But no, I was surprised and it was very efficient, very well done yesterday.
Yeah.
And he was able to present it in a way that did not embarrass anybody.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? He made fun of me because of my checkbook, but anyway, except for that, I said, it's just for my war amps. Every year I send a check to war. I need that check.
Yeah.
But no, it was done very well.
So
We need to keep that level.
are they always, what's the spread of the age group that's setting?
The one yesterday, this was our first one. So yesterday, a father who was a counselor, brought his two daughters, and I would say they were early 20s.
Okay,
And there were people there in their sixties, I would say. I'm just judging by and there were people in their thirties and forties. You know, there were 11 people yesterday. But yeah, the range would have been from early 20s to 60. One lady I would have said was mid-60s at least. Yeah. So, and very good questions. They asked very good questions, but I could tell though that even the most basic information was important.
Yes.
Like he did start at the right place. I thought, well, maybe I need to tell him, well, these people know this. Well, no, I'm glad he started where he did, and I would expect him to do the same thing again. And I think he can gauge the room as well. And depending on what they answer and what they know, he has, like 20 modules he can cover. There was great interest in the fraud one, and I learned things that I didn't know. So they can intercept your e-transfers. So you know how you eliminate your password? You know, definitely don't eliminate that password. Make sure that if you're sending an e-transfer, that they need to put in a password, because he said these e-transfers can be intercepted easily. Did not know that, you know, different things
Question
like that.
answered, Bob?
Yes,
Mhm.
thank you very much.
I have a question on Voyant Alert, please. How do you promote that? Because I know in my municipality where I'm from, I think we only have around 500 people registered out of a potential of 5,000. And we've had this ongoing for a year and a half. How do you try to get everybody on this?
Which community was it? Okay, I think Carrie might be able, there was a community that held a clinic. Is that what you were going to say, Carrie?
I was gonna just share when in, I believe it was 2024 or 2024 funding, I believe, we partnered with the Capital District Firefighters Association through a grant funding. So we gave Resiliency had a project for $10,000, and we reached out to municipalities to say, I think it was around $600 a piece, to say what do you need to help leverage or motivate to get folks signed up through Voyant? In some of the conversations we've had since, I think we're seeing more climate realities happen. The wildfires are nothing like a good motivator to stay connected. So I think more and more we're looking at like how might we mobilize that. So we're seeing more folks become through Voyant Alert, but how do we make it easy for those that are deploying the messages? And that, because what happens is that we have Voyant Alert, but there's not very much going out onto it. And Harry Farrell has been a very keen champion with the Village of New Maryland. He's been a very keen motivator in this as well. And he'll say, I'm a nosy Nancy. And he has every municipal office on his Voyant Alert. And he gets updates from recycling, garbage, field closures, those types of things. And so I think if we can equip municipalities to how might we send communications or give a bit of a policy or a guide and document with that, it will help to promote, because the more you use it, more people are finding out where they find that information. The other piece that we've done, and this is me kind of putting Arcadia hat on, is really leveraging it through community events. So we host an annual Life at the Lakes event. I handed out 400 water bottles on the hottest day in August, and we saw our numbers jump 300 just over the weekend. Mind you, there was also the wildfires happening in the province at the time too. So I think it's kind of a double-edged sword, but the more you can pair or have that personal connection is what I've heard to be the best way for promoting and getting people signed up and registered. One of the other pieces is having, we've set it up, or I've heard from other municipalities that they can call the office and they'll guide them through that, the process of getting registered. Because again, you've got kind of technology literacy around like, how do I get my phone signed up? Do I have the email update? Are they going to call my landline? So there's other opportunities to explore, but I think it's pretty early yet, because I think what I've heard in terms of numbers and being able to register, not everybody's fully adopted that full usage of Voyant Alert to date.
Yeah, well, you got that right. They're fully adopted, so.
And I think one of the communities at their clinic, they actually told people how didn't they actually have a phone there, and they set up the landline people as they sat there, they set it up for their landlines, because not everybody wants it on their phones. And it seems to me, I think this was Harry in New Maryland, actually sat there with a phone and sat them and said, what is your phone number? What is this? And I think there was somebody that actually did that with our more senior members.
Audrey Harper, who was with the village and is now with the city of Fredericton. She like public safety open houses and stuff, or touch a truck events, they would have a booth and have someone physically kind of go through that process. And what they've noticed is that, you know, if we have the mindset that we're not just there to kind of register for this community that I live in, but to register for all of them. Especially, I'm going to look at the incident that we've seen with the chemical spill in our region. Many commuters, right? So there's some folks in our region that are traveling to and from urban centers that would pass through 3 or 4 municipalities. So if they're not following kind of that social media or what the province has put out, it gives another layer of communication tools if they're registered for multiple communities.
Okay, thanks, Gary. Do we have a comment,
But
Tim?
just, yeah, I would agree. I know in Hanwell, we've had them at various events. And it helps to have that. And I think we also did a little contest, like sign up and you can win something. So people always like that.
And
Yes,
Mr. Chair, if I may, we also did a campaign in the fall, was based on the certain things that we're hearing from communities with the navigational system. And we're actually still hearing that as we're doing that Reaching Home the project that we're undertaking right at the moment for the Human Development Council. There's some of the rural there, and primarily the rural areas, but we're noticing that there's, you know, there are gaps in places. And some of the communities have the smaller 211 cards so that they know where to go, and on that. They also have the 988 numbers posted, but it's to get that message out there and the Buoyant Alert. So we did all three in the fall through a social media campaign. But to Lisa's point, sometimes the people you're trying to reach are still using a landline and still want to do that. So I think you're absolutely right, Carrie and Tim and everybody, to, you know, however you make it more attractive to get them signed up. I think it's better for everybody, because especially after following up on the wildfires last year, when we were talking with DNR and we were disseminating information every day, and everybody was as well, don't get me wrong, but we were disseminating that information. They were saying, look, the best thing you can do is get people on these systems where they can get that urgent information quickly and they know what's going on. So the more that we can get, the more that we can drive people to it, the better.
do we have any comments or questions from online for Lise? Before we move on to Carrie? None? Okay. So we'll ask Carrie, she'll present the Capital Region Resiliency Network update, please.
Absolutely, thank you. So for February, we had 40 partners in attendance, so about half and half virtual and in person. We were hosted in the rural community of Hanwell with St. James Presbyterian Church. So special host to Reverend Wendy McWilliams, who helped to give us the space in that meeting. What we're trying to practice is learning a little bit about each community that we go. So we have formed an executive team that's been ongoing and evolving. We meet the first Monday of every month, and this includes Horizon Health Community Developers. Director Pepin is one of them as well. Along with Dan DeCleva, our Regional Emergency Management Coordinator, and often inviting partners in from Population and Public Health. So Paige Paulson and Louise Lockhart. And at that table, we basically plan kind of what the function is for the Regional Resiliency Network, trying to basically use that as a forum for information. So we are kind of pushing folks to share that far and wide in terms of their community or community champions. You'll see that Kelly has shared out in your package how to become a member and stay informed of when the next meetings are happening. I'll say that there's kind of a structure to every meeting, because we recognize that not everybody can commit a full day once a month. But I would say it is really information finding. So we're trying to resource those folks as much as we can, so that they can take them back to their respective communities or the areas that they serve and have that kind of information hub to go by. The first section of the meeting is our regional community roundtable, and I think that's my absolute favorite part of the meeting. We learned so much from the gifts around our community of events, needs, services that are happening that are honestly just under our nose that we may not be aware of. So it's a really great community of sharing. In the next section, we try to have that be kind of our impact opportunity. We heard from Louise Lockhart around what impacts health at the February meeting. I encourage you all to look at the slide deck that Louise prepared. It really does show from a population health, how might we start to really truly impact the health of folks in our region. On deck for our next month meeting in March, we have the New Brunswick Nonprofit Housing Association. Peter Corbin is giving a presentation on how we might mobilize some of those resources and information. We always have a networking lunch, and we ask that folks RSVP so we can account for numbers. And the final component is our regional resiliency learning network. So that's where we're hoping to hear more from local stories or actions that are happening, associations. I referenced Big Brothers and Big Sisters earlier, but on deck for March, we have Emily Baxter and Julian Jacob, who's a dietetic intern with public health, because March is Nutrition Month. So how we might infuse some of Canada's food guide elements there. And then we also have Michelle and Dave Blanchard with St. John Ambulance Therapy Dog Program and their four-legged guests joining us as well. So an opportunity to see how we might align. And this might feel very, how does this tie into resiliency? What is the work here? I think that the key component is that so much of our region is in recovery from COVID-19, the pandemic days. And we're seeing that in some of the conversations we had around youth and community perception over homelessness and those social system that became exasperated from social connection. And that's exactly what we're talking about at our regional executive team, is that how might we start to really truly align a strategic opportunity here, and so that we can support our regional community in a stronger way, so that we're more prepared in times of disaster, or how we might mitigate this risk moving forward, improving communication among so many levels of partners, so that we don't have that silo approach. So our next meeting date is March 17th. So we are asking folks to RSVP. We'll be in New Maryland at the St. John and Paul Roman Catholic Church. Lee's also mentioned a couple of reminders just for March as we come up. We have the tax clinics happening, and the super clinic is happening in March 24th. So trying to direct as many folks as possible, those that are around a $40,000 income range, single person household. This specific tax clinic will need access to an ID, and so they must come prepared with an ID in hand. So just to note, that's a reference point. And a big thing at this one is that there's somebody there that will help navigate for what services may be available. So we're trying to encourage that across the region. We also have some funding project updates. So Lise and I are meeting with our project funder or groups that are leading these works end of March, early April. And I also just wanted to highlight a UNB survey. So this is from Dr. Julia Woodhall-Melnick, who's the chair of I should know the formal title, Resilient Communities, essentially. They are looking at deploying a survey to understand the needs and experiences of individuals in Atlantic Canada who have lost housing or experiencing housing damage or evacuation due to a natural disaster. So there is a survey link in the email that we've distributed. Julia met with our team, our executive team, the first Monday of the month to kind of share a little bit about what this might be, but trying to get that information to Julia and her team. And then March 20th, Lise had mentioned, we also have a great event happening in the region, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging on March 20th. And so I think there's a few tickets left. And then the other pieces, I guess, in terms of longer term planning, I've been working with some partners at JPS, Department of Justice and Public Safety, to say how might we support the youth sector that we're seeing. If you look at our resiliency action plan for this year, a lot of it is youth centric. There's some groups across the province that have engaged a program called Planet Youth. And I think it might be something really advantageous for us to start considering as we start to align these partners that are servicing the youth sector. So if possible, I have a Connection Autumn Lock that would love to present on what this might look like, or present or bring other regions in to experience or share about their experience with Planet Youth. I believe it's Kent Western Valley, and there's one more that I can't think of, Acadian Peninsula perhaps, that have gone through the Planet Youth model. And really it's a community wrapping their hands around support for youth and young people to support the next generation to prevent substance use, crime prevention, all of those pieces. So that is something we're looking at in alignment that we might be able to leverage at this table as well. I think that's all that I have, and open for any questions if there's time.
Yep, we have lots of time.
I just have a quick correction. I think you said it was March 17th. It's March 19th, the next resiliency.
Oh, so sorry.
Yeah, nope,
Yes, thanks,
just wanted
Lisa.
to make sure nobody tries to come on the 17th. That's St. Patrick's Day. You
We'll have other
probably-
plans. Yes.
Isn't it the 17th? Yeah, it's the 19th on Thursday.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Any other questions for Carrie? Well
If I may,
presented.
Director Duplessis, I'm curious if folks have heard of the Planet Youth model before.
No, I have not.
Okay, I can send some resources out if that's of interest, but it is an Icelandic model that really is taking that, how do we support families that then support their youth? So it's not necessarily a direct intervention for youth, but have youth kind of lead what their needs are, from what I've understood it to be, in any adverse child effects. So Ali Ross, there's a lot of public health work that's being done at this level. So there's incredible resources that we could tap into, but 3 of the 12 regions have undertook the Planet Youth Initiative.
Anyone think it'd be a good thing to send it out, Carrie? Any other concerns or questions, comments? Hearing none, we're good. Do we have any follow-up to the commission or staff from our meeting today? We're good on that avenue.
Good on that?
Okay. I have a motion for adjournment then. Thanks, Gary. Goodbye. Bob Simpson, do I have a seconder?
All right, Greg Erickson.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.